Federal budget tricks hide trillions of dollars in the national debt. Every year, tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars are quietly added to the national debt, on top of the deficits that we hear about. What's really going on here? When it comes to financial magic, the government of the United States takes the prize. Sleights of hand and clever distractions by purveyors of line of credit mortgages, living benefit variable annuities, and equity indexed life insurance are clumsy parlor tricks compared with the big magic of American politicians. Consider the proud trumpeting that came from Washington at the close of fiscal 2007. The deficit for the unified budget was, politicians crowed, down to a mere $162.8 billion. But it's not true. In fact, our government is overspending at a much far greater rate. The total federal debt actually increased by $497.1 billion over the same period. The politicians of both parties use happy numbers to distract us. Democrats routinely criticize the Republican administration for crippling deficits, but they politely use the least damaging figure, the $162.8 billion. Why? Because references to more realistic accounting would reveal vastly greater numbers and implicate both parties. You can understand how this is done by taking a close look at a single statement on federal finance from the President's Council of Economic Advisors. The September statement shows that the on-budget numbers produced a deficit of $344.3 billion in fiscal 2007. The off-budget numbers had a surplus of $181.5 billion. The off-budget figures are dominated by Social Security, Medicare, and other programs with trust funds. Combine those two figures and you get the unified budget, that $162.8 billion. In the past 8 years, we've had 2 years of reported surpluses and 6 years of reported deficits. Altogether, the total reported deficit has run at least $1.3 trillion. Some of the numbers just don't add up. But if you examine another figure, the gross federal debt, you'll see something very strange. First, the debt has increased in each of the past 8 years, even in the 2 years when surpluses were reported. Second, the gross federal debt, which includes the obligations held by the Social Security and Medicare trust funds, has increased much faster than the deficits, about $3.3 trillion over the same 8 years. That's $2 trillion more than the reported $1.3 trillion in deficits over the period. Can you spell Enron? In other words, while our reported deficits averaged $164 billion over the past 8 years, government debt increased an average of $418 billion a year. That's a lot more than twice as much. How could all this happen? Easy. The Treasury Department simply credits the Social Security, Medicare, and other trust funds with interest payments in the form of new Treasury obligations. No cash is actually paid. The trust funds magically increase in value with a bookkeeping entry. It's called cooking the books. It represents money the government owes itself. So what happens if we take out all the funny money? When the imaginary interest payments are included, Social Security and Medicare are running at a tranquilizing surplus. That $181.5 billion. But measure actual cash and the surplus just disappears completely. In 2005, for instance, the Social Security Disability Income Program started to run at a cash loss. 2007 is the first year that Medicare Part A, the hospital insurance program, benefits exceeded income. The same thing will happen to the Social Security Retirement Income Program in 6 to 9 years or less, depending on which of the trustees' estimates you use. During the same period, the expenses of Medicare Part B and Part D, which are paid out of general tax revenue, will rise rapidly. Despite this, the Social Security Administration writes workers every year advising them that the program will have a problem many more years down the road from now, not 6 or 9 years. In fact, the real problem is already here. It will be a big-time problem in less than a decade. In 2007, the actual federal deficit was running at $8.949 trillion. That's a lot of money. Doesn't sound like they'll ever get it paid off. There's a probability that they won't. Or a possibility, no. They're leaving all this national debt for future generations. What happens if the economy in the meantime goes into recession or depression and stays there for a while? Who is really going to pay all this national debt? It's not even including the war or the occupation of Afghanistan and Iraq. What about those costs? What is the true national debt? It could be even much higher. Putting everything on the Uncle Sam's national credit card. Way too much. This is not sanity. This is a form of insanity. No, how about this? How about government should pay as they go? Pay for everything right away that year. How about no national debt? That would be best. This is another sign of the last days, and there are many of them, multitude upon multitudes. Period.